Hello friends, welcome to Friday Beyond Spotlights, Hong Kong's new insightful program looking into the lives of our most remarkable high achievers and getting their take on this city's past, present and future.
Our guests will give their personal perspectives for a new generation, inspiring Hong Kong for a better society.
So sit back and relax and let's go beyond the spotlights.
Welcome to Friday Beyond Spotlights, where we invite leading minds and game changers with incomparable experience and unique knowledge to come on our light-hearted yet informative show to help business leaders and the wider community gain insights, grasp opportunities, and see behind and beyond spotlights, so we can get the full picture, dream bigger, and achieve more together. I'm your host for this episode. My name is Nick Chan, lawyer and lawmaker. And Friday Beyond Spotlights is honored and pleased to present to you our guest today, Mr. AuYang, Group President of Animoca Brands. And we are here today at Cyberport in Hong Kong, an innovative digital community with over 1,000 tech startups taking full advantage of this home base to grow, thrive, and access the global markets. Evan, welcome onto the show.
Pleasure to be here, Nick.
Thank you. Thank you for coming onto the show to talk about how Hong Kong raised unicorn to lead the world in NFT, gamification, digital entertainment, and the open first. Do you believe in unicorns?
Well, it depends on what you mean, figuratively or actually talking about, unicorns in terms of companies, right? So unicorns as companies obviously exist, right? So how do you get from a startup to a unicorn is really the journey that takes place. And that is always about hard work, perseverance, and about sticking to what you believe in.
When did Animoca Brands, a Hong Kong-based company, became a unicorn?
We actually became a unicorn last year, and it sort of very quickly became a $5 billion company, as we announced just 2 weeks ago that we have raised to $5 billion.
$5 billion?
Yvette, do you believe in unicorns?
Which unicorn? I know that a startup with a valuation more than $1 billion is considered a unicorn. Today, Hong Kong and other cities in the Greater Bay Area have together raised over 43 unicorns, collectively valued at well over $1 trillion.
So you're a pretty big startup. You have, over 2,500 investors or more?
Correct. Because we were publicly listed in the Australian Stock Exchange before the listing, so we're still a public company.
Are the stock exchanges ready for the groundbreaking changes you are bringing to the industries?
Whenever there's something new that's happening, like decentralized finance, like NFT, there's always some skepticism around sort of like what is this bringing us? Is this a net positive? Is this something that we should be concerned about? Because it's actually changing the business world by storm, right? So back in about 2019 or so, the Australian Stock Exchange was not comfortable with what we were doing, right? But again, with anything new, like the internet at the time in the 90s when it sort of become prevalent, people didn't understand it either, right? They were like, why do you need the internet, right? We can get information from books, from encyclopedias. There's nothing that actually we need the internet for. And then the rest is history, right? It just changed everything.
One person's trash.
It's another person's treasure.
So what we're talking about is that, initially we have Web 1.0, which is basically already a decentralized, information-based sort of consumption. Everybody is actually working on that as a way of providing information, of interacting with audience in a different way. Then it became centralized in Web 2.0, where it's about the social media age. Then it's about the Facebook, about Google, about Microsoft, et cetera, all the large data companies, right? That would then actually centralize the data and then mine it, and then it comes back to you. That becomes centralization. Everything becomes then permission-based, right? What we're then talking about here is Web 3.0, which is, again, a decentralization of information and knowledge, and most importantly, creativity. Because what we create as individuals is actually the most valuable thing that we can actually have, but it's really enabling digitization through ownership of creativity. That is what we're truly doing. But at the time, there wasn't enough understanding and appreciation in terms of what our mission is, and therefore we were delisted.
That's the turning point. I mean, your company were more of a gaming, traditional, game developer, but then you changed diverse into other areas. But first of all, how big is the gaming market?
Well, the gaming market is really large in terms of traditional gaming market. So it's about 180 billion right now.
Wow.
And there are like 3.2 billion gamers. And if you talk about like just the net number of crypto wallets there's only about 80 million. So there's a lot of penetration to be had, right? As we discover the space.
You guys are leading the change from free to play to earn. Can you share a bit more about that?
So within a free-to-play game, only about 3 to 5% of the population that play that game would actually pay anything, right? But for those that pay anything, it's actually sort of, they actually pay a lot, right? A lot of them. There's a concentration in payment, right? Whatever it is that you have inside the games or the weapons, you don't actually own those, right? You cannot take it out of the system. You cannot sell it. People, want to somehow, you can see people trying to sell their whole profile in the market. They try to sell things, but it's not allowed by the platforms, right?
Right.
So in play to earn, it's a completely different thing because we're talking about each asset being truly owned by the players.
Oh, you mean the individual earning as opposed to the company? Oh,
correct. There are two things, right? One is the currency that you use, right? So in-game currency, which exists today, which you cannot take out. And then the gaming assets like cards and swords or weapons, right? Those are all in-game, right? But in the whole play-to-earn universe, all of these are owned by the players, right? And it's in a permissionless basis. So the platforms don't really write the rules in terms of whether you take something out, because you can take those assets out and trade it on an exchange like OpenSea, which is not managed by us. And you can freely take that out because it is actually, all the assets actually sit on the blockchain. It doesn't sit on our servers, right? That makes a very, very big difference in terms of how the whole evolution of gaming is going to become.
That's clever. That means if your company one day ceases to operate, maybe I can still use my digital asset?
That's precisely the point.
Wow.
It's that you don't want to have platform. Basically saying that these are the rules in which you have to operate within, because that does not itself enable creativity and doesn't allow ownership to take place, and therefore the engagement of those folks in the community. And so it's about free composability. It's about whatever you create, if it's valuable, then you can actually sell it, or you can actually create positive experiences for the community in which you're serving.
I'm so pleased to see you still with us in Hong Kong at the Cyberport, where you could afford maybe to block out the whole top floor of a 5-star hotel and work from there. Why do you choose to stay in Cyberport?
Well, Cyberport is where we began. And Cyberport has a good network, obviously, of startups around. And being an ecosystem actually helps. And also Cyberport's management and staff around has been helping us making introductions to partners, potential partners, to funders. So it's a community that really works, right? But in terms of Hong Kong, I think people underappreciate how great Hong Kong really is as a place of doing business, right? Especially in times like this where there's a lot more international spat. But Hong Kong is part of China, yet it is really an open capitalist system where there is a distinct role where capital can flow freely. So a lot of venture capital or private equity folks actually have operations here. So our conversations, a lot of our investors are actually Hong Kong based. Of course, there's some are international based, but with Hong Kong operations, right? But it's such a fantastic place as a gateway to what we see internationally. And at Animoca, we have about 600 or so staff worldwide. Only 100 is in Hong Kong. Wow. So we're actually truly an international place. I've been here all my life since I was born. And this is a place we're committed to. And it's a fantastic place to live, to work, and to find capital. And with the Greater Bay, obviously after COVID, hopefully, that you're opening yourself to a huge talent pool.
Can you share with our international business audience how they could, tap into the open-verse, blockchain, NFT, gamification, universe as traditional brand companies?
Well, there are many ways, right? I think many brands are actually thinking about what is their way to engage in their global audiences, right? But there are really two paths, right? One is to really think through, oh, how can I control everything? How do I mint my own NFT and create their own walled gardens of experiences, right? That's one path, which is what we believe in. Another path is what we call open Web3, which is to really focus on the community in which you serve, but you build it open, right? So you participate in places, metaverses like the Sandbox, like Decentraland, and you're trying to engage your brand with a slightly different audience that would appreciate that kind of experience. And then you create, beyond what your brand essence is today, you're evolving into something that is greater. Right? You're expanding something that is more using imagination. That is something a little bit more higher level, if you will. And we can see a lot of brands doing that as well right now.
By accessing this market, traditional companies can access millions of gamers around the world to start with.
Correct. And a lot of them are actually not gamers, because we're actually gaining new audiences as well via digital asset ownership, right? And these are the folks right now currently extremely valuable, because the folks who are in either the NFT or the crypto space early, they have actually done quite well financially. And they actually are the folks that have the purchasing power to engage with the brands when they sell virtual goods, when they sell virtual shoes and dress up their avatars, etc. There's a lot of possibilities in there.
Thank you, Evan.
Thank you very much.
We'll be back for more.